So here's basically when we talk about topics and censorship and stuff you're really not allowed to talk about, it's stuff like this and how it is affecting society here in the West. And by the way, not only on a personal level, but like on a country level too, the West will pull funds from other countries and aid if you don't abide by this. Some countries in Africa are currently undergoing problems like this, where the aid that the West has been sending got pulled simply because they passed laws that a sovereign nation has decided is appropriate for themselves, but morally is not acceptable here in the West.
His record is a mediocre lift by a mediocre male power lifter because the Canadian Powerlifting Union is discriminating against female athletes.
Well, competitive swimmer Riley Gaines has called out Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for his government's approach to trans athletes. The American swimmer has been a fierce opponent of allowing trans athletes to compete in women's sports, especially since she competed against Leah Thomas last February. Leah Thomas became a household name as a trans swimmer who tied in 5th place against Riley Gaines in the 200-metre freestyle final at the NCAA Women's Championships. At the time, Riley Gaines even told the Daily Wire that she wasn't even given a 5th place trophy because there was only one. So Leah Thomas would receive that and Riley would get hers in the mail. But now Riley Gaines is calling out a different sport. This time, it's competitive powerlifting. 40-year-old trans lifter Anne Andres competed in the female masters unequipped category at the Canadian Powerlifting Union 2023 Western.
Yeah, it's very true. I'm seeing it here in Eastern Europe. Somebody said Western loans have ideological strings attached. That's 100% true. If you don't abide by the morality of the West, loans won't come. That's really what it is. They bully you into their mindset through money. I mean, you can say, choose not to accept it. But sometimes, like here in Eastern Europe, you're supposed to get money for being, quote, in the EU as part of this, quote, development that's supposed to be going on, right? The West is developing, helping develop the East. Here's a bunch of money. But by the way, you need to vote in this direction. By the way, you need to relax rules on certain ideologies. By the way, you need to put this, piece of legislation through, or you don't get the funding that we, quote, promised you, And I understand the argument of, well, don't take their money. But the system is set up in such a way that they've left at least this half of Europe in shambles post, a bunch of wars, post ideologies. They have tons of legislation in the EU itself that protects, say, industries in Germany, in France, in Italy, used to be UK as well. They had a ton of laws that were in their favor because those are the ones leading the EU, but then Eastern Europe gets screwed in the process. There's a ton of shit, man, that goes on like under the surface that people don't know. But yes, typically the loans have strings attached that really it's like selling your soul to the devil. It sucks. Africa is like finding out about that right now.
Canadian Championship, where she set a new Canadian women's record. She also set an unofficial women's world record when she lifted 597 kilograms, which was 210 kilos more than the woman who placed second. Canada's policy is that if you self-identify as a woman, then you can compete on gender alone. Riley Gaines tweeted in response to this, writing, "Justin Trudeau's radical disdain for women and reality in effect," using a clown emoji, new national unofficial world record for trans identifying male Anne Andres. Take a look at the rest of the video that she posted.
Breaking news, there is a new Canadian national record holder in women's powerlifting. The only problem is it wasn't set by a woman. Trans-identified Anne Andres competed at the 2023 Western Canadian Championships yesterday. According to results, Andres' total powerlifting score was over 210 pounds more than the top-performing female in the same class.
I have yet to speak to anybody in Eastern Europe here that believes in this ideology. Nobody wants this way of living pushed on them. Here in Eastern Europe, at least, I could only speak for the area I'm in, but I'm even in the more liberal side of this country. I'm in the capital, in the nice part of the capital where liberalism should be flourishing. And even here, they don't agree with these principles. I could only imagine what it's like in the countryside. How this got this far where you could put on a dress and some lipstick and just say, I feel this, and immediately be allowed to compete against women in sports where you're outlifting them 200 something pounds right away. And all the adults in the room are looking and going, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he should be able to identify as what he feels like. Yeah. Adults, fully developed brains are looking at this and going, this makes sense in the world.
Not only is this a Canadian national record, sources say that this is an unofficial world record for the class that Andres competed in. And as if his domination competing against the women wasn't enough, watch as he mocks female powerlifters.
Why is women's bench so bad? I mean, not compared to me. We all know that I'm a tranny freak, so that doesn't count. I know we're not talking about Mackenzie Lee. She's got little T-Rex arms and she's like 400 pounds of chest muscle, apparently. I mean, standard bench in powerlifting competition for women, I literally don't understand why it's so bad.
Let's rephrase that. Women's bench might be bad to you because you are a male who's gone through male puberty with a male amount of testosterone. Being a woman or a female athlete doesn't mean we're inferior or not capable of accomplishing incredible things, but it means we're different to men. And that's exactly why the women's sporting category was ever even created. And we deserve to be recognized and celebrated based off of those physical ceilings and our own uniqueness.
Riley Gaines continues to tweet in response to saving women's sports. After her infamous race against Leah Thomas, she told the media, she said, "It's almost like they're trying to back transgender athletes more than 90 to 95% of the rest of the swimmers who are kind of bummed by and affected by the rules that were in place for Leah to swim." When ESPN celebrated Women's History Month by promoting Leah Thomas, Riley slammed the sporting network. She wrote, "Leah Thomas is not a brave, courageous woman who earned a national title. He is an arrogant cheat who stole a national title from a hardworking, deserving woman. The NCAA is responsible. If I was a woman working at ESPN, I would walk out. You're spineless."
Let's see the comments under this kind of video. Trudeau is embarrassing as a Canadian. She hit the nail on the head when she mentioned Trudeau's apparent lack of respect for women. It's embarrassing. Beyond comprehension that this was allowed to happen. What a shame. And I'm Canadian. Can't believe what's going on in my country. As a Canadian woman, I'm horribly embarrassed by our Prime Minister and woke ideology he instills here. Disgusting. I'm so appalled with what the F he's doing to my country and the women here. We got to stand up and do something. To be a female athlete in Canada takes some balls. Good joke there, brother. As a Canadian woman, I'm sick and tired of my government's actions. They've made Canada an embarrassment. Riley, as a Canadian woman, I'm so proud of you for speaking out. As a man who was born naturally strong in hockey, I was always ashamed I had to hit a guy who was significantly smaller than me. That being said, I was full well capable of going after a guy my own size. I've always been disgusted by guys who shamelessly target little guys or worse yet, women and children. As a Canadian woman, I'm disgusted by these policies. So not only did he take their records, but he mocked them. That's almost like a 20-year-old bully stealing a younger kid's candy and then asking them why they're so weak they didn't put up a fight. As a Canadian, it seems like we have to keep apologizing to the world every other day. What a disgrace. There you go. Wow. Oh, Canada. All right.